Karen Birchall with a video creating a background for an art journal page using only Inktense blocks. This is the next in my extensive Inktense series. Techniques that you'll see on here: applying direct to a gessoed surface, ghosting with a baby wipe, applying to a wet surface, building up colors, and stenciling. Here you see my Inktense blocks. I have the tin of 72 and I love the variety of colors that it gets me. So I'm selecting my colors and I'm using these basic colors. I kind of look into the primary colors and decide not to use the green. So this page has been previously gessoed and dried, and I'm just applying color here and there. I do not have a definitive plan. I'm just putting the color down onto the page, which is what I love using the Inktense blocks for this. You just can go scribble, and when you wet it, you get these lovely vivid colors. So I'm spraying water, just tap water, onto the Inktense blocks, and just using my finger, I'm activating the color. I'm wiping off every once in a while because I don't want to end up with mud. I'm just rubbing certain colors as I go around, cleaning my finger as I go. I want the blue and the yellow to make green. I want the pink and the yellow to make orange. I'm adding a little more color right onto the wet. The Inktense blocks work equally well. I'm just building up colors here as I go and as I see what's being created. If you do make mud in any places, you just simply have to dab it out and you're good to go. So I'm just adding a little bit of water and trying to get a little bit of movement happening here. The Inktense blocks work really well. I'm getting a little bit of mud here and there, so that's me just dipping it out. I'm not liking what I see, so you can go in and change it. When you like what you see, just dry it with the heat tool or hair dryer. I'm just going to continue applying color, taking off color, till I get what I'm happy with. And it's really simple to do. Everybody's happy with different colors and combinations. Since I've added a lot of water, it does take a little bit to dry. Now I'm adding a little more color here and there. Some of the spots I may have taken off more than I want. I kind of take it back almost to white at times when you rub it off, and then you can change the color that's there. So the Inktense blocks are fairly forgiving at this stage. Worst case scenario, if you really dislike what you have, a fresh coat of gesso on top of that and dry it, and you are good to go and start fresh. So very, very risk-free, perfect for us beginners. Using a Crafter's Workshop stencil, and I liked the way it was when it was on an angle, but for the sake of ease of removing, I'm just going to line it up perfectly edge on edge. Actually, now I switched out to a Joggles stencil. I think this one's called Flourish. I'm trying to spray water and see if it removes. Like you see with the Distress inks and Delusion sprays, you can spray water, wait a little bit, and then it comes up. That does not work with the Inktense blocks. So I'm adding a little bit more color, since I just kind of faded it, but not enough to really benefit me in the way I like. So back to square one. So you see, very, very forgiving. I was curious to see if the Inktense blocks did work. to get that ghosting technique that Diane Reverly talks about with her dilution sprays. And nope, they don't. Getting some interesting drippage here, moving the page. Can't be afraid to experiment. That's how I think all the great techniques have been discovered. So back to stencil number 1, right along the edge, and a baby wipe. And I'm just seeing if I can remove the Inktense blocks. And even though they were heat set and dried, you can quite easily remove them with a baby wipe. If you have baby wipes that are wetter, you may want to dry them out somewhat or select a different brand of baby wipes. I find there's some seepage underneath if you press really, really hard with them. I have 2 different types. I know the Huggies brand is way moister, which I typically like. It stands up better. But for this, I take out the baby wipe at the beginning when I'm applying color just to let it dry a bit. So just lining up the stencil and continuing to remove some of the Inktense blocks. So you see here you got some really vivid colors from the Inktense blocks, and you remove some of the color using the baby wipe, and it's a lovely effect. And I could stop here, but of course I don't. Because I wanted to see and try out other techniques. So I'm going to continue using the Inktense blocks, and I'm wetting the Inktense blocks with a brush and getting a pool of ink. Remember, Inktense blocks are not paint, they are ink. So I'm getting a pool there on my craft mat, which is actually a silicone mat for inside the barbecue, I believe. And I have a leopard print, and I'm just going to apply the Inktense block, the ink, using the makeup sponge through the stencil. And I'm just applying the colors that I have that I like here and there. At this time, I do admit I'm thinking, oh, this is getting to be very, very busy. But I wanted to push it. I wanted to see different techniques and how they work and how vivid the colors are. In my next background video using Inktense blocks, I actually do a slightly different process of stenciling instead of making the pool of ink. Here I am just cleaning off the stencil, and I'm cleaning it off onto a coffee filter. I'm not going to waste any of that luscious ink. So it can go on the coffee filter, and here I'm taking the pool, re-wetting it, and just getting it off. These will be used, I'll build up layers upon layers on this, and I will use it to collage at a later point on a journal page. So I'm picking another color of Inktense blocks and making a pool. The spray bottle is just a recycled spray bottle from, I think, Eyeglass Cleaner. Grabbing a different stencil. This is a Donna Downey stencil. I believe it's called Bubbles. Applying the ink through a stencil, you have to have enough colored because you want that vividness, but not enough water. So you'll see me rubbing a lot off of the Inktense blocks. And as you can see, my Inktense blocks are well loved. Many of them are broken, and that's because I'm using them, because they are so versatile. I noticed where the teal and the fuchsia pink had touched, I ended up with purple, so I'm just bringing up more purple by adding that color through stencils now. Each layer, each stencil layer, each technique adds another bit of interest to your page. Now with the bubbles one, we have a whole different look. Again, cleaning up, mopping up my leftover ink. I'm not going to waste it. Using another coffee filter. Having those things just ready to go on the side to mop up any of the messes is great. I decide that now I'm going to go back to the baby wipes and I'm going to remove the Inktense blocks through the stencil. And I was really liking the bubble stencil, so I chose it. And I find that unifies. Here I've placed it on with through the stencil, and now I'm removing through the stencil, and they're both the same stencil, and that unifies my project. And I found when I did this, I got rid of some of the busyness that I was creating before, and I just added just another layer of color and interest. So now I can go on to this background and do my journal page, put a focal point on there, and progress as I would with any other journal page once the background is in place. Thank you for watching my videos. Like, comment, or share. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any of the upcoming videos in the Inktense Block series or the series